we've been in worse positions down the years, and we've been in this position a few times over the last few years. So we've got the experience. Some of those players know what it's all about, and it's Blues. And this is what we do. We have good times, we have bad times, and keep right on, as the song says. But
What's going on, Blues fans? We are back again with another podcast, and this is a special podcast because joining me today is one of my childhood heroes, Mr. Paul Devlin. How you doing, Paul?
Yeah, morning, mate. I'm good. Good, thanks.
How's things with you? Everything all right?
Yeah, good. Obviously, disappointed at the game yesterday, but no, apart from that, all good.
Did you go there yesterday, Paul?
Yeah, I was doing the ambassador stuff yesterday, so I was down there. Obviously, I had Barry Bridges as my guest, who for some of the older guys will remember him. Absolute goal scoring machine for Chelsea, Birmingham, QPR, Brighton. Played for England as well, so it was great to meet him. 83 years of age and still fit as a fiddle and getting around well. So it was great to meet him.
Fantastic, mate. But yeah, I mean, how's things for you in terms of, because I know you've had a few things going on in the background, haven't you? And so for you, you're like 100% now and stuff.
Yeah, I had a hip replacement just before Christmas on the 16th, so that's all gone well. It was, a bit of an eye opener because I was lucky really during my playing career. I only had one operation, an operation on arthritis in my left foot. So this was obviously, quite a big operation to have a hip replacement. So yeah, it's going well. I think I'm 12 weeks in now. I've played golf a few times. I've been for a couple of runs. So I'm in the gym and that. So yeah, I'm pain free now, which is great. The last couple of years I've been limping about, hobbling around. So hopefully I'll be having a kick around at some point again this season for the Blues charity team.
And that was just down to playing football and stuff and just wear and tear, like you were saying.
Yeah, just wear and tear. The training, and we always used to play a lot of squash as well. So just wear and tear really.
I'm glad you're on the men, mate. But yeah, it's really special, this podcast is, mate, because like we were saying earlier, you were one of my childhood heroes, mate. As a kid, you were one of the footballers that I used to look up to when I used to play football, when I used to go to school, and when I was getting into like all the mini soccers and stuff, playing in the youth academies and stuff. So it's absolutely fantastic, mate. It means so much to me, this podcast does. Cause,
no, more pleasure, mate. More pleasure.
But yeah, it's definitely made my birthday, mate, at the end of the month, so thank you. Yeah, so like, how did your footballing career kind of start then, Paul? Like, how did you get into football and what kind of happened?
Yeah, just like everyone else, really. Just like everyone else, really. Played football at school and then sort of left school. And I wanted to be a chef when I left school, so I got an apprenticeship doing that, and it was like working evenings and weekends, so I didn't really play a great deal. But one of my mates signed for a team that started up in Erdington, where I was from, and I'd go and for St Mary's and John Celtic, they were called. So I'd go along, I'd be sub, I'd come on for 10 minutes, and it was really lucky. We played in a cup final over in Tamworth. And I came on for 20 minutes. I had no sort of aspirations to be a footballer. I thought it had all passed me by. So I didn't have my heart set on being a player or anything like that. I wanted to be a chef. And I came on sub for 20 minutes in a cup final over in Tamworth. And there was a fella called Paul Wood there, who I still speak to now, Paul Wood. And him and a fella called Clive Lyons, who's passed away, unfortunately. They were the youth team scouts for Tamworth. They run the Wednesday League team for Tamworth. So I came on for 20 minutes. He saw something in me, got me down there. So I would have been 17 then. So from having I wouldn't say no interest, I always loved playing football, but having no aspirations to be a footballer, getting noticed just on a 20-minute spell, 20-minute sort of cameo appearance. I signed for Tamworth youth team, made my debut for the first team that season, and within 2 years I'd made my debut in the old First Division, which is now the Premier League. So it happened really quick. So I went in at sort of youth team level at non-league, had a season there, went to better non-league, and which culminated in me getting, Armitage and Boldmere, and then I signed for Stafford Rangers, who were in the Vauxhall Conference at the time.
Yeah.
And I had 18 months there, and then, I had quite a few clubs in for me. I went on trial at Leeds, Liverpool. Actually played, I think, 2 reserve games for Liverpool and scored the winner in one of them. Me and Ian Rush up front. He was coming back from an Achilles injury, and it went really well there. But for some reason, that all sort of fell down. Went to Leeds. I had a good couple of weeks up there. Played a couple of, I think, 1 reserve game for them, but didn't enjoy it at Leeds. And then I came back, and like Neil Warnock, who had been after me for a while, convinced me to sign for Notts County. So from 17, not really playing a lot of football, within 2 years, I was a pro and made my debut in the top league.
That's fantastic, mate. That is one achievement. That is, though, really, though. I mean, you must have been proud of yourself and your family. Like, they must have been proud of you, hadn't they?
Yeah, obviously, it was, it was a brilliant thing to do. I think any young lad would give the right arm to be a footballer. So I was, I class myself as being very fortunate to have done it. But I also worked extremely hard, training to get to that level when I was a pro. My sort of biggest thing that I look back on with pride in my career, I was fortunate. I played at the top level, scored over 100 goals, over 500 appearances, and international and all that. Played in some great games. But the thing I look back on with most pride in my sort of 14, 15 years as a pro, I was never out of contract. So that always tells me that I was doing something right, and people always wanted to sign me. So it's something that is not talked about a lot, but that I take immense pride in that not for one day of my career was I ever out of contract.
Fantastic, mate. I mean, because you've been through it as well, haven't you? Like in terms of your a professional football, like started like in a short spell. What's it like in terms of like the younger footballers getting like scouted? Like, is it a rare thing to happen, or is it quite common? Are these scouts quite on it when they're looking around for the younger generation to come forward and stuff? Or
well, I think we've become obsessed now with academies and getting kids in 8, 9 years of age. I'm never have been a big fan of it. Even when my lad was in the Blues Academy, I've never ever been a big fan of the academy setup as it is at the moment, because you're getting lads in at 8 and 9 years of age, keeping them till 14, 15, and then 99% of them get released. But what happens in that time with these kids? They're all convinced they're going to be a footballer because they're getting boots, they're getting tracksuits, they're in this lovely environment up at, say, Wash Hills or something like that, where you got all the facilities and everything like that. So invariably they don't try at school, or most of them don't try at school because they all think they're going to be a footballer. They don't play for the school teams because the clubs don't want them to. They don't play Sundays with the mates. So they miss out on all that. They're travelling all over the country, and they're in training 3 or 4 times a week at that young age, which is like, for the parents, it's like a full-time job. And then 99% of them at 14, 15 are told thanks, but no thanks. So I'm not a big fan of that. And I still think with all the money that's been spent on the academies over the last few years, the actual success rate of the kids coming through isn't a great deal different to how it was in the old days, where you'd have a youth team and they'd take on 1 or 2 of the youth team. Sort of prior to that, in fairness to Blues, we've done well over the last sort of 10, 15 years with the academy products. So we've probably done better than most, to be fair. But obviously for every one of those Redmonds, Greys, Bellinghams, etc., that come through, there's loads and loads that don't come through. I was so grateful to do it the way I did, because at sort of 17, 18, I was playing against men. I was playing non-league, and you have to grow up very, very quickly. So at 17, 18, 19, I was playing against men that had either been a pro and dropped out the league, or were top-level non-league pros, or had aspirations of going pro. So, I look at a lot of this youth football now, and the under-18s, the under-19s, under-20s, 21s, and you could get a player that's brilliant playing against another 18, 19-year-old. Fantastic. Put him up against a bloke who's 33, 34, who's made a couple of 100 appearances in the league, and see how he does then on a cold Tuesday night away at Altrincham. Okay, it's a big eye-opener, and you have to grow up quickly. So, and I'm convinced, if you look at players that came out of non-league, myself came out of non-league, Jeff Horsfield, Ian Wright, Stuart Pearce, loads and loads of players, that came out of non-league. I think they have that sort of inbred toughness in them and hunger that maybe kids or players that have been cocooned in the system from 10 years of age don't have. So I much preferred, or looking back, I wouldn't change the route that I went for anything. At 18, 19, when I was at Stafford Rangers, I was playing with Desi Bremner, who was 36, 37 at the time. So at that young age, to learn off somebody like Desi, who was Scotland International, European Cup winner, league winner, was brilliant. If I'd have been in an academy, I'd have just been playing with other 17-year-olds, which is no disrespect to obviously these academy kids, but I think coming through that non-league route makes you a little bit hungrier. Obviously, you're getting up and going to work every day as well, which a lot of these kids who have been cocooned in the academy system never find out and never know about. So you appreciate a lot more the fact that when you turn pro, you're rolling in at 10 and going home at 12:30. So you realise, most of my career, that was the case anyway. So it makes you a lot more appreciative of how lucky you are. You realise how many people would give their right hand to be in the position that you're in as a player. And and this is what annoys me at times about players. I mean, the starting point for me as a player was always to work hard, run around, work hard. If you're not playing well, make yourself a nuisance, put your foot in, get stuck in, just work hard. And I see now that we actually sort of celebrate and praise players because we say, but he works hard. Well, to me, that should be something that's a give me anyway. That should be a given. That should be your starting point. But I think we get that used to sort of mediocrity at the minute. If we see someone running about and trying, we actually praise them for it. Whereas every player, that should be your starting point. So that frustrates me at times with the game. But I was really pleased to do it the route I did, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
I suppose as well, like doing it your way, because you were saying about like the kids in the academy, like it kind of like sets them up for like life skills as well, doesn't it? Like going through your route, doesn't it? Because they're working as well, aren't they? As well as playing football. It's good for life skills, isn't it?
You're getting up, you're going to work, you're training Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're playing Saturdays, and that Vauxhall Conference, it's a really good standard. I think most of them at that level now are all professional anyway. But it just, what would you rather do? Get up and work 10, 12 hours on a building site, or go in and train for a couple of hours, and play football in front of 30,000 people at St Andrews? It's a no-brainer. And I think you realise when you've seen that side of it, how lucky you are. And also, it prepares you for after football as well. Because you get someone that's been in the system all their life, and then at 35, it's right, thank you, you're too old now, go out and get a job and earn a few £100 a week. A lot of players are not equipped with those life skills to do that. All they've ever known is football. So unless they stay in the game, coaching, management, and there's only a finite number of positions for that, they're out into the big bad world then to get a job. Most of them have got no sort of transferable skills away from football, no experience in the workplace. So it can be difficult for a lot of players then to make that transition at that age into the workplace environment.
Yeah, it's good, mate. How you've done it, mate. But what an achievement, Paul. And fair play to you, mate. Going back on your career as well. Obviously, then you was saying you was at Notts County, and then you come to Birmingham City, mate. And what was that like for you when you came to Blues?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Obviously, it used to go down. My uncle used to take me down and watch them in the days of
That was 1998, wasn't it? 1996, 1998.
Yeah, but I think it was 96. I think I signed. I had a couple of years there. But having my heroes were the likes of Colton, Harford. Frank
I was 4 years old then, by the way.
You're making me feel old. But it was great because Michael Johnson had signed for the club a few months before. Because me, Michael Johnson, and Andy Legg used to share a house at Notts County. And we're still to this day, we're still really close, and that'll be a lifelong bond for the three of us. And he'd gone there. Yeah, obviously I was a bit jealous because he'd gone to the club that that I'd been and watched. And he just phoned me out the blue. He says, "Listen, Barry Fry, really interested in signing you. What do you think?" And I didn't need to be asked twice. So it sort of snowballed from there. And then obviously Baz came in. Baz being Baz, I think I'd played 2 games before I had my medical. So that was typical Blues at the time, and the medical was literally right. Walk over there, walk back, touch your toes. It wasn't any of these in-depth things that you get today. But no, it was great. And then obviously linking back up with Jono, obviously Leggy came in the same deal as well. And I was really fortunate that I hit the ground running. Apart from my debut, it was funny really because my debut was against Sunderland,
Yeah.
And that's what you played Sunderland about a month before and beat them 3-2. And I'd scored 2. And I'd played up against a player called Andy Melville. And I'd give him a really tough time that day. Scored 2 goals, we won. And so before the game, debut, so buzzing. And then Bazzy's talking about Melville. I went, yeah, not a problem. I roasted him last week. I said, not a problem. We end up losing the game 1-0. Who scores? Andy Melville. So I wish I'd have kept my gob shut on that particular day. But luckily enough, 2 or 3 days later, the next game was at St Andrews against Wolves. Packed St Andrews night game, and we won 2-0. And I got both the goals. And
quality.
Yeah, so that was brilliant. And then I think I got about 7 or 8 in those 15 games under Baz. So I was lucky. I got off to a really good start.
What was the transition like from Barry Fry to Trevor Francis?
Yeah, chalk and cheese. Chalk and cheese. Obviously, Baz, life and soul of the party. Man as a March here. Trevor, far more reserved, far more sensible. Yeah, I remember when he was coming in. Obviously, the club's best ever player, by a mile, and everyone was really excited. Made some great big name signings at the time, in the likes of Bruce, Gary Ablett, God rest him, Furlong, Newell, Barry Horn. So yeah, there was a big furore and a lot of hope about the place. Unfortunately, I didn't quite hit it off with Trevor, even though, in Trevor's first year, I was Player of the Year and top scorer. I had a great start to the second season as well. I think I'd got about 7 or 8 in 14 games, whatever it was then. And we just, we had a bit of a breakdown, really. I was coming to the end of my contract. Never, I always felt Trevor never really wanted me to stay there, which reflected that he made me. And we had a bit of a fallout, and I ended up going to Sheffield, which, listen, I had 4 brilliant years at Sheffield, and I loved it there. It's a great club, very, very similar to Birmingham City in a lot of ways with regards to the size, the sort of ferocity of the fan base. They'd lived in Wednesday's shadow for a long time, the same as we had with Villa. So really similar sort of clubs, and I had 4 brilliant years there. But looking back, would I have left if I didn't have to? No, I'd have loved to have had a scenario where I did 10 years at Blues and score 100 goals for them. But it never panned out that way. So that was unfortunate. But like I say, 4 great years up there, and I was lucky to get the chance to come back.
Did you have to move up there, or was you travelling, Paul?
Travelled for a little bit, then it was mad because we ended up at one stage. I was playing for Sheffield, Peter Unlove was playing for Sheffield, Paul Pescasolido was playing for Sheffield, and David Kelly. So we had a right little firm of, obviously Nuddy and Pesh ain't Brummies, but the Birmingham firm. So I'd only have to drive up once a week. So it was great. I lived up there for the first 12 months, but then travelled it after that.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I just thought I'd ask because obviously I know that you were born in Erdington, and you're a Brummie anyway, and obviously travelling up there, for 4 years as well. I weren't sure if you was, just doing that for the foreseeable, or if you moved up there and stuff. So
we moved up, and then obviously we found out that we were going to have my first daughter, Jessica, who's 24 now, 25, I can't remember. But and then we decided that we were going to move back, obviously, with it being the first kid to be by our families. That was with my ex, Mrs. Helen. So we moved back then to be closer to our family. And like I say, on a good run, we were getting door to door to the training ground in an hour and a half. And only being, we'd only know, whoever it was, we'd take it turns in driving. So you'd only drive once a week anyway. So it was no big hardship. So
after Sheffield United, then you went back to Notts County, then didn't you, on loan?
I had a spell on loan there, coming back from injury, and we it was a bit of a transitional period for Sheffield as well, because Howard Kenled came in previously, spent a lot of money, and we had some big name players there. Dean Saunders, actually Paul McGrath was there when I signed as well, but he retired, like Graham Stewart. So they had to cut the wage bill. So I'd come back from injury, and Brucey says to me, "Listen, we've got to get rid of some of these. So I'll go on loan for Big Sam, who's Brucey's pal. Get fit. By that time, we'll have got rid of a few out of the squad, then come back and we can stick you in." So I did that. So I had a month back at Notts County, which was nice on the Big Sam. Notts County is a club that I hold very dear to my heart. When I signed there in '92 in the old First Division as it was there, under Neil Warnock, I had 3 or 4 really enjoyable years there, and it was a great place as a young player to learn your trade, as I'm sure if ever you have Michael Johnson or Andy Legon, that they'll say the same thing. So it was a brilliant club to start off at.
And what was it like when you came back to Blues then, obviously, when Brucey was in charge?
Yeah, it was brilliant because I'd left under a bit of a cloud, and I'd gone back a couple of times with Sheffield and got loads of stick off the fans. I remember it was either 2 Boxing Days in a row or 2 New Year's days in a row that Sheffield played at St Andrews. So you can imagine the sticker, like the whole stadium was given, there's only one greedy so-and-so, and Devlin is a this, and Devlin is a that. Because I'd left under a bit of a cloud because I'd fell out with Trevor. And, I think the one year we actually won 2-0 or 2-1, and I scored one of the goals in front of the Tilton. So it was a bit surreal, that. But, yeah, to get the chance to get was brilliant. Brucey had made contact with me to sign for Crystal Palace. So I put a transfer request in at Sheffield, and then it was a bit of a strange one, really, because I'd only just signed a 4-year deal for Sheffield, and then Brucey sort of tapped me up, if you like, to go to Palace, and I absolutely love Brucey, great fella. So I put a transfer request in there, so there was a big furore up at Sheffield because you've only just signed a 4-year deal and now you want away. So that caused a problem. Then Brucey obviously left Palace, was going to get the Blues job, and got put on gardening leave. So I ended up in real bad limbo, really. And again, Neil Warnock at the time was manager up at Sheffield. He was brilliant, handled it great. He just says, "Dev, have a week or 2 at home, train at home, and we'll just take it from here." He never went mad or anything. He was really good about it, Warnock. And then it sort of stretched on. Nothing happened. Brucey eventually got the job, and I didn't hear nothing for a couple of weeks. So I'm thinking, what's happening there? He's already asked me. And then I spoke to Jono, and Jono went in to see Brucey for me, and Brucey went, "Well, this is to be fair, Jono." He said, "I didn't realise how many sort of 30-year-olds we've got in the squad." He said, "We're quite an aging squad." And he said, I know Dev's approaching that. I might have even been 30, or I was late 20s. He said, "I don't know whether it's the right thing to do to bring someone else that age in." But luckily for me, they had a bit of a bad run. Results went against them, and I think that sort of made his mind up. And I know David Sullivan was a big factor as well in getting me back. And then he rang the club, and the rest is history. But Warnock was good because we thought it had all broken down, the move to Blues. So Warnock rang me up. He said, "Get back up, train on Friday. You're playing Saturday." Put me straight back in the team. Never forget it. We were playing Norwich away on the telly, and I think Sheffield beat Norwich. I played, so I thought, right, that's it. I've got 4-year contract here. The Blues thing's gone now. Settle down and play for Sheffield for the next 4 years. And so put me back in the team. Coming back on the coach, Neil Warnock says to me, "Make sure you've got your boots and everything." Yeah. Why? You're going to Blues in the morning. So it just happened like that. So I went down initially on loan. Yeah, went down initially on loan, and we had we had an unbelievable run. I think we went 12 or 13 unbeaten, and managed to sneak into the playoffs. And then my last game was Wolves at home before my loan ran out. So my loan ran out, and then obviously we had to, sort of permanent deal. So it was brilliant to get the chance to go back because I really, really liked Steve Bruce. Obviously, I'd left under a bit of a cloud because I fell out with Trevor, and I felt that my side of the story was never told in that particular argument. And it was great to go back to get the chance to put the record straight and be involved in like an unbelievable couple of years for the club with the Cardiff promotion, the Villa games, some of the players we brought in, Sav, Dugarry, Matthew Upson, Kenny Cummingham, all that. So it was like a really, really, it was the best couple of years for the club for a long time. So, and then when I left that time to go to Watford, it was all amicable, and I said my goodbyes to everyone and left on good terms. So it was amazing to get the chance to go back.
Fantastic, Paul. And I've got to ask you a question as well, because I think me personally, I think I'd be bottling it like in front of like a packed out St Andrews. But like, what's it like playing in front of a packed out St Andrews? Full of balloon houses and they're singing your name and stuff like that. What's that feel like?
It's brilliant. There's no better feeling. That's what we all play football for, is to play in big games in front of big crowds. And I was fortunate to do it a lot of times down the years with the Blues. And yeah, it's a cliche that it's the 12th man and it drives you on, but it does. No better feeling for me, having just scored a goal. You're walking back to the centre circle, you're celebrating, and you hear the St Andrews in full voice singing your name. There's no better feeling in football. they're a really, really passionate bunch of fans. We've been starved of success the last few years. Hopefully that changes. We're in a really, really sticky spell at the minute, and I do fear for us. I do really fear for us this season, more so than the previous 10 or 8 or whatever it is. We've been down there that long dodging it. I forget how long it actually is. But the light at the end of the tunnel is we've got fantastic new owners in. There's big plans behind the scenes, so hopefully we can survive this year and build from there. But there was no better feeling. I mean, the game that sticks out in my mind, obviously, I was lucky. I played in a few big games for the Blues, but league games, that first Villa game at home when we got promoted, where we won.
Getting into that in a sec. I was going to show you 2 clips.
It was amazing. It was like the whole ground was bouncing, but no better feeling than playing in front of a packed St Andrews.
Quality, mate.
What clip was you getting up?
Well, I was going to get the Norwich playoff cup final, because that was massive for me. That was as a kid, because I was upset because my dad he went up with his mates and stuff, and I really wanted to go. But it was like a lads' weekend, so he went down, and I was upset because I couldn't go with him. But just watching it on telly, mate, fantastic. What was that like?
Nerve-wracking, obviously. We had the roof over, which was a bit of a novelty as well. It was at the Millennium. Great stadium. And I just remember going to the ground, seeing all the Blues fans and the Norwich fans, and, the colours, the yellow and green of Norwich, the blue and white. It was just a great day. And getting into a penalty shootout, obviously really nerve-wracking. I took penalties throughout my career, and we had some good penalty takers. So I always say to people, walking up to take that penalty is probably one of the best and one of the worst experiences of my life, because all that's going through, and people can tell you, think positive. All that's going through my mind walking from the centre circle to the penalty spot is don't miss. If you miss, everyone is going to remember you forever for being the Brummy, the Blues fan that missed the penalty. And then you're thinking, what about if I miss and we don't go up? And it's like, career over, these are all the things that are going through your head. You get there and put the ball down. The goal looks about that big. Rob Green, the goalie, looks that big. So you just have to rely on keep your nerve and do the things that I'd done, that I'd always done when I took penalties down the years, which was get a good strike on it, strike it well, and I was fortunate to see it go in. But we had some good penalty takers in Stan, Stern, and obviously written in the stars for Des Carter to get the winner. But it was an unbelievable, probably the best day of my career, I'd say. After 16 years out the top flight, to see all those blue noses there, to see the look on their faces, and we had a very, very heavy 3 or 4 days after that. I was going to say if I remember rightly, but I can't remember a lot of it. But it was it was great time.
Did you get picked for the penalty, Paul, or did you opt to do it?
No, we'd gone through it. We'd gone through it weeks before, and one thing we did for weeks leading up to the game, and I still listen. We did it, but you can't replicate walking in front of 75,000 people with that pressure to do it. But the 5 penalty takers, obviously Hughes, never got to take one. At the end of every training session, Brucey would get all the lads, all the staff to stand on the halfway line and make us go through it. So you pick the ball up, you do your walk and do it and take a penalty. So nowhere near the pressure that you're under actually doing it. But we did go through and we rehearsed it every single day after training.
I mean, that's good managerial skills, isn't it? That he's doing that with you to try not to prepare you for it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you prepare as much as you can, but on the day, the pressure, the noise, and don't forget as well, we're all absolutely shattered. We've played a full game and extra time, but I often speak to a lot of players, but you've got to have a certain sort of mindset to be a penalty taker. And I always take the mickey out of Jeff Horsfield when the penalties come up. I looked and I think he was hiding behind the dugout or something. Some people just don't want to take them. People say, well, a professional footballer should never miss a penalty. Let me tell you, you stand in front of a packed stadium with the pressure on you and take a penalty, and it's tough. It's a really, really tough thing to do, especially when you think in a playoff final, you're taking it in front of 74,000 people. You've got how many millions watching on telly, and the game is worth what, 100 million, 150 million to the club.
Yeah,
so there's a lot of pressure on it. There's a lot of pressure on it.
What was the atmosphere like, Paul? Like with the Blues fans, like, I bet it was brilliant.
It was great. Obviously, the bus ride into the stadium, seeing them all there, and then the actual game itself. I think, with it being at the Millennium with the roof on, made the atmosphere even better. But saying that, I was talking to Tommy Mooney the other day, and he reminded me for the first 20 minutes, everyone was coughing the lungs up because they had the fireworks and the pyrotechnics on, and the roof was shut. So we were breathing all that smoke in for about the first 20 minutes running around. But no, it was great. The atmosphere was unbelievable. And then obviously to take the penalties in front of our fans, and then just seeing the joy after was something. I haven't got a great memory, but those memories will stay with me to the day I die.
Oh, fantastic, mate! But yeah, that was one of my best memories. That was as a kid. Yeah, fantastic, mate. I just remember I was upset because I couldn't go with my dad, so I was already in tears, because I was only a kid then. And then going from that then to the result that we had, mate, I was crying, but obviously I was crying the other way. I was not happy, and jumping around the living room and stuff. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
watching on telly, just brilliant, mate.
It was brilliant. Yeah, it was great, and the celebrations after were brilliant too.
And then the other clip I was going to show you, but before it went AWOL, was when we went up then against Aston Villa, that game that you was talking about. And what was that like, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember, I've spoke about it loads of times. I remember the build up to it that week. They were quite, Olif Malberg especially was quite dismissive of Blues, and most of our players really. He said never heard of them, didn't know any of them. And I just remember, Brucey didn't need to say a lot. We'd all saw the interviews. We'd all see, the stuff pinned up on the changing room about what certain Villa players had said. And I've said it before. We beat them in the tunnel that night. We were shouting and bawling. We were so up for the game. You look across and they were terrified. No two ways about it. So I knew before we'd set foot on the pitch we were going to beat them that night because they weren't up for the fight. I didn't think we'd obviously beat them 3-0, and then the controversy with the Enkelman goal and everything like that. But I can honestly say that's probably the loudest I've ever heard St Andrews in my couple of spells there. It was like you could feel the ground shaking. You could feel it was like the whole ground was moving. Yeah, I mean, I spoke to Jeff Horsfield a lot about it, and he says that the year before I come back to play Ipswich I think it was a semi-final of the Cup, and he said that was an unbelievable atmosphere. But for me, the first Villa game, 16 years out the top flight, first league meeting for all that time, massive underdogs in that game, and then to hammer them 3-0 was one of the standout games in my career. But that was the best club game atmosphere, league game that I ever played in, I think.
Yeah, but mate, it was brilliant to watch that, mate. But same again, it was fantastic because my dad's a Brummie, but obviously, I mean, you can tell from my accent, I'm not quite there. I'm a black country lad, but obviously, I followed my old man, and but yeah, mate, I really went through it at school, and I did have a few Villa fans at school, and obviously that year, mate, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was brilliant. But yeah, so yeah, I'm going to ask a couple more questions then, Paul, and then I'll let you enjoy the rest of your night. So I've kept you for 40 minutes already, and I know you've got stuff to do and stuff. But yeah, so you've delved into your own business and that now as well, haven't you? That's doing quite well, isn't it? Now after you've
yeah, well, I had a coaching business for 15 years, coaching kids throughout the area. Unfortunately, COVID put an end to that. But yeah, I've been working in the construction industry for the last sort of 3 or 4 years now with recruitment. So I'm working for a really good company called O'Neill and Brennan, doing construction recruitment. So it's great because whenever I walk onto all the building sites that you see in Birmingham city centre, and that we'll have lads on there. So I'm walking around all those sites at some point during the week. And it's great because I walk into some and there's a load of Villa fans there, so I get a bit of stick, or a load of Blues fans, Wolves fans. So, I'm supposed to be there to talk about labour, supply and construction. 99% of the time we're talking about football. So it's good. It's really good.
Oh, fantastic, mate.
Hey, how old are you, by the way?
Mate, I'm 32, the end of the month.
32. 20 years. You got. I'm 52. in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So, yeah, 20 years difference, mate.
20 years. Oh, yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. It's come back to me now. What do you think the current situation is with Blues at the minute?
I fear for us more this season than I have for a long, long time. It would just be our luck, wouldn't it? For 8 or 9 years, we've had sort of no backing and no ambition behind the scenes with the owners. We get these fantastic new owners come in who have got big plans, big ambitions, and I fear that this could be the year that maybe we go. It was funny because I was talking to a friend of mine last night who was a Villa fan, and they were saying about when they got relegated and how often year in, year out, they were flirting with it. You can't flirt with it every year and keep avoiding it. Sooner or later, it gets you. I mean, how many times in the last 5 or 6 years, whatever it is, have we been down there looking to go into the last couple of weeks of the season or sometimes the last game of the season to avoid it? And we've always done it. We've done it. But I don't think we can keep doing it. I really don't. And I look at the team and the squad, and I just, I don't know where the win's going to come from at the moment. And that's, I've very rarely do you see me criticising players because I know what it's like, and I know no player goes out not to play well and purposely not to try. So I try not to criticise too much. The last couple of days I have done because I can't keep sugarcoating it. I can't, honestly.
Yeah.
Tuesday's performance was dire. It was a better performance against Watford. But ultimately we've lost the game. And Watford, another one of my ex-clubs, they're not great. Watford are not great. But I just think at the moment, St Andrews has become a nice place to come and play football. And it never used to be like that. Teams used to hate coming to St Andrews because they knew the crowd were going to get on the back. Blues teams would have players that are going to get in amongst them. We're going to work them hard. We're going to kick them. We're going to fight for every ball. And it's going to be nasty. I don't see that at the moment. I think physically, I don't think there's many in the squad that can get about and put a foot in. I think we're a soft touch to play against. What was it yesterday against Watford? 20-something attempts on goal and 3 on target.
Yeah.
Poor, really, really poor. To me, what I would have done Saturday, listen, we're down the wrong end of the table. We're struggling. Struggling. At home, especially, because the Championship's a tight league. On a given day when we're playing well, we'll give anyone a game.
Yeah.
I would throw caution to the wind. I'd play 2 wide men and I'd play 2 down the middle and I'd get the ball in the box. Okay, let's try and get teams on the back foot and score a few. But people say, well, you're playing 2 up front. You're not. To me, it's 5 across the middle with Stansfield up front on his own. I'd say listen, I know Duke got injured yesterday. What I'd have been inclined to do yesterday was play Duke up with Stansfield and say to Duke, right, give us everything you've got for an hour. Because that's one thing that bloke will do. He will give you everything he's got.
Yeah.
I feel sorry for Stansfield at times. He's up front on his own. We're smashing balls up in the air to him or in the channels. He's not going to win balls in the air when you got a 6'2", 6'3" centre half behind him. Let him feed off the Duke. Let him use his pace and his football awareness. Let the Duke, be up there winning those nod downs. I think we get obsessed in today's, modern age with. We look at Man City and with Barcelona, pass, 50 passes, let the keeper play out from the back. He doesn't want to play out from the back. You can see that quite obviously. The goal yesterday, clear it, just clear the ball. Don't try and play out, clear the ball. And I think sometimes, you go back to the era I was playing, you'd have myself on one wing or whoever, or stand on the other wing, Horse and Stern down the middle, get some balls in the box. And it works. No one can tell me that in this day and age that type of football now is no good, but it's almost like football snobbery. No, we don't do that. That's 20 years ago, football, 2 wingers that get crosses in the box and people fight for the crosses and pick the bits up. We don't play like that. It's 20 passes a goal and let's pass, wingers come inside. So I get really annoyed at the game. And that's why everyone loved Barry Fry, right? Because Barry would throw caution to the wind, getting beat 1-0 or we needed a result. He wasn't right. Let's pack the midfield, pack the defence. He was right. Let's get 4 forwards on and try and outscore them. And then at least even if we get beat, which we did at times, you're watching an exciting game. You're not watching a game where we might have a couple of good chances or score 1 goal. You're watching a game where it's half 11. We might lose 5-3, okay? But you've been entertained. I just think that we don't show enough. I don't know whether guts is the right word or what. We don't throw caution to the wind at St Andrews at times and really go for the throat with other teams. And don't worry about them. Let's put our best attacking team in and go and try and score 2, 3, 4 goals against them. Yeah. Because the Championship is much of a muchness anyway. There's 1 or 2 teams that are a lot better than the rest, but everyone else is sort of that level. And on any given day, we can all turn each other over. But I'd like to see us be a bit braver. Get balls in the box, play a couple. I don't know what's up with Dembele, but get Bakuna going down one side, get Dembele going down the other side, get the Duke in the box, get Stansfield, get whoever. Let's try and go out and out to win games and score a few goals and excite people. You never know. We might be 2 or 3 up at half time, and it's brilliant then, isn't it? But at the minute, I just don't see it, and I really do. I really do fear for us more so than any other season recently, and I don't know why that is, because we've been in a poor situation a lot of the time the last few years. But it's a tough one. And I've put a few comments on my socials last night, and I've had a few disagreements with people, which is great because everyone's got an opinion. And like I say, I don't want to sit here and criticise players because I know what that's like. No one, as a player, you don't want to be criticised by former players. But I said, I made a comment to a couple of people last night. At the current team, I think a few are lucky to be playing at the level. And I look and I think, right, if I was to pick good teams, successful teams in the past for Blues, how many of this current squad would get in those teams? I don't think there's many. But I think we're in a dire situation. I really do. And I think we've got to show more. We have to show more, as a club, as a team. It's really, really unfortunate what's happened to Tony. Obviously, it was really unfortunate what happened to John Eustace.
Yeah.
But, Tony come in, steadied the ship, and, touch wood, hopefully everything works out with him and he's back in that dugout sooner rather than later. I have my reservations whether it'll be this season. Time's ticking along. Huge game coming up against QPR. Got to win.
Yeah, they're all huge games now, mate, aren't they?
Well, listen, this week, Middlesbrough-Watford, I'm thinking we need minimum 4 points from these games.
Yeah.
It's Middlesbrough, they're decent, to be fair. Watford, they're in a similar sort of boat to us. And we end up with 0, which is a massive, massive disappointment. So we've got to do more. Like I say, people say, well, we had 20 odd attempts on target. What are you classing as an attempt? Do you know what I mean? Are they quality chances, and the chances that we do get, we've got to do better. We've got to do better. And you can sugarcoat it as much as you want. At the end of the day, we haven't been good enough this season, and we're in a relegation dogfight. And whoever's picked in that team now has to step up and give everything they've got for the last 8 or 9 games, whatever it is. But we have to do miles better. And the owners deserve better. The fans certainly the fans certainly deserve better. But I think we've just become as well. Again, I'm in conversations with people. We've sort of accepted certain things, like saying about, but at least he runs around and works hard. Are we supposed to celebrate that a football player runs around and works hard? That should be your starting point. That should be your minimum thing you do, is run around and give 100%. But because we've been that poor over the last X amount of seasons, we're looking at players now and we're going, he's good because he runs around and works hard. I'm thinking, that's what you're supposed. That's what you get paid for doing, running around and working hard. But I just think we've got that used to mediocrity. We sort of celebrate that now.
Yeah.
I look at some of our passing, some of our finishing, and it's dire. And I don't want to be sitting here saying this, but
no, you're right, mate. It ain't good enough, is it?
This week's really got to me, and you go all across my socials, everything. Very, very rarely do I out and out criticise the team. But I don't. Who else do you criticise? At the end of the day, you can criticise the team selection. Yeah, I get that. We're in an unfortunate situation with the manager. But whoever you put out on the pitch, listen, the manager can only say so much. When you go out on the pitch, it's those players that are on the pitch. Who else do you criticise the fans? Well, no, because they pay their money and turn up every week, and they want the team to do better more than anyone else in the world. So you can't criticise them. But ultimately, the buck's got to stop with someone, and it's got to improve. And I've had a bit of a rant about it yesterday and today because it's annoyed me. It's annoyed me, and we should be doing better. But, shoulda, woulda, could have, I suppose. And we're in a really poor position at the moment, really poor position. And, the QPR game, I said to Tommy Mooney, he was my guest when I did the ambassador stuff on Tuesday. I said, is the Middlesbrough and Watford game 2 must-win games? And he went, well, not quite must-win, but mustn't lose. I thought they were must-win games. He thought they were mustn't lose. What's happened? Yeah. We've lost 2 of them. So what position does that put us in now?
Yeah, it's not good, is it, mate? I mean, how does it work, Paul? I mean, worst case scenario, like if it did happen, if Blues went down, I'm worried about Tom Wagner, like if he'd want to hang around. I think he would, because he spent a lot of money already. But I fear that respect, and then I also fear how does it work in terms of funding? Do you still get funding if you get relegated to?
Yeah, I think obviously you don't get as much money as if you stay in the league. I wouldn't have thought. I mean, I don't know the exact ins and outs of that, but yeah, obviously, who knows what we're going through Tom Wagner's mind? Obviously, he's come into the club wanting to build the club, the brand, get involved with the city, and go from here to there. Doesn't want to go down there, So who knows? You'd like to think he's in it for the long run, and if the unthinkable was to happen, that it'd be, a major punch in the stomach and a major backward step, but. Hopefully he's in it for the long term. But, I mean, make no bones about it. Getting relegated would be a massive, massive disaster. I listen to people sometimes, not just talking about our club. Oh, well, I hope we go down and we do this and we rebuild and come back up. Say that to Sheffield Wednesday fans. Say that to Sunderland fans. Say that to Leeds fans who went down to Division 1 and had years in Division 1. Not because we're Blues, bounce down there, win every game, come back up. It doesn't work like that because you go down, the club loses players, the club can't bring in the quality of player because obviously the finances will dictate that. Attracting good players to come to the club to play in Division 1, not impossible if they've got options to go to the Championship and above. So getting relegated, I can't understand people's logic when they say about their club, well, going down to help, maybe going down is the best thing for us because we can clear the decks and rebuild. I see it completely the opposite. And there's, I'd be more than happy if we avoided relegation on goal difference or by 1 point as long as we stay in the league, because you're better off building to go higher from that level than down there. So, hopefully we can. Hopefully this little rant I've had the last couple of days is put to bed next week and we beat QPR and we stay in the league. I think there'll be massive comings and goings at the end of the season with regards to playing squad, which needs to be done. Make no bones about it. Lots of them players will be moved on, and we need players coming in, and we can build and hopefully, in the long term, get back to where this club belongs, which is in the Premier League. Yeah,
I just hope that things change, mate. To be honest, it's just we haven't even. I mean, even luck hasn't been that good, has it? As well. Tony Mowbray and. We've had 3 managers and injuries, and
when you're down the bottom, you never seem to get the rub of the green with injuries. Obviously, the unfortunate thing that's happened to Tony is devastating. But referees' decisions, hitting the woodwork, stuff like that, and on the flip edge of that, when you're doing well, everything goes for you. So we're just in one of those cycles at the minute where everything's going against us. But the only thing that I take heart from is that. We've been in worse positions down the years, and we've been in this position a few times over the last few years. So we've got the experience. Some of those players know what it's all about, and it's Blues, and this is what we do. We have good times, we have bad times, and keep right on, as the song says. But
joys and sorrows.
Yeah, that's it. So it's nothing new. We've been in worse predicaments. We've been in better predicaments. I just want to see a little bit more from the team, and I want us to obviously the thousands that go to St Andrews every week. I'm no different. I want to see us up the other end of the league looking at promotion, not every year looking over our shoulder.
Yeah. Well, I hope things change, mate, and fast, because every game now it's crucial, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Paul, I've absolutely loved enjoying talking to you, mate, and thank you so much for doing this with me, Paul.
No worries, mate. Have a good birthday.
Cheers, mate.
All right.
And I'll catch you soon, Paul.